Let's unbox the Hasbro Black Series Boba Fett Re-Armored Electronic Helmet. Varykino. If it's Star Wars, we collect it. Hello there, thanks for visiting Varykino. This past weekend we met Boba Fett himself, Temuera Morrison, at our local Armageddon Expo convention, so to celebrate we'll be unboxing Boba Fett collectibles this week. So far I've opened up Vintage Collection 3.75 inch figures, Funko Pop vinyl figures and Black Series 6 inch. Now it's time to go all the way up to life size with this Hasbro Black Series 1:1 replica of Boba Fett's iconic helmet as seen in The Mandalorian. This one is labeled as Re-Armored. This one is specifically from Chapter 15, The Believer, where we see Boba Fett on the planet Morak, where he has repainted his helmet after getting it back from Din Djarin, who of course got it from Cobb Vanth. So this is a really fun new variation of Boba Fett's iconic helmet, and I'm very keen to take it out, check out all of the cool details on this Hasbro replica. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Coming up really soon, I'll of course get this helmet out of the box so we can take a closer look at all of the cool details and weathering. But first, let's take one last look at the box. For a quick comparison, I also have the box here for the earlier version of the Boba Fett helmet from the Black Series line. This one was released for the 40th anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back, so of course the helmet is the ESB version of Boba Fett's helmet. And it's really interesting to see because of course this is part of the Black Series line by Hasbro. The packaging mirrors the packaging for the Black Series 6 inch figures that were available at that time. They were very black and squared off with a red accent stripe down the side, so we see that here for the helmets as well. We have Boba Fett electronic helmet, and instead of a number we have the mythosaur symbol here. I think that that's really quite fun. Now this one was released in the modern era of Black Series figures that had that side angle art. And I think it's really fun. You can sort of line them up on your shelf and see the art all lined up. The orange toned accent color is for the Mandalorian series. The green color here is for the Book of Boba Fett. So of course this helmet is as we see him in the Mandalorian series. There is a little bit of difference between different episodes and of course in the Book of Boba Fett. Be interesting to see if they reissue this helmet to match as we see him in the Book of Boba Fett, because it's pretty easy for them to release a new weathered one, but I think it's fun that we've got that same packaging style, just a kind of fun seeing them all lined up there. On the front of the box, we have a really nice clear image here of the helmet with the rangefinder up. We have the Star Wars, the Black Series logo up here, and in that Mandalorian series orange color stripe, we have Boba Fett Re-Armored Electronic Helmet there. And we've got a little bit of information here because this is an electronic helmet. It says that we need one AAA battery, not included. There is lights, and it is intended for ages 14 and up. I absolutely love the side panel art here. We have a two split panel here with Boba Fett facing forward and then his helmet facing to the side here with the Hasbro logo. A little bit different here. We don't have the character name written on the side like we do for the Black Series 6 inch figures, but I think this is really fun, really highlighting the helmet component of Boba Fett's armor. On this side, we have a side angle here. We've got an image here of the helmet, and this one here kind of splices in half with a bit of a sketch blueprint, giving us a little bit of a hint of the interior of the helmet. These ones are quite premium replicas. It isn't just the paint job on the outside. We have a full detailed inside. Gives it a really fun in-world effect if you want to wear these helmets. Here on the back, we get a little bit more information about some of the details here. We can see that it has LEDs as indicated by the light bulb icon here, and it says flip down illuminated HUD HUD. This rangefinder is going to flip down, and we've got some lighting effects. Very fun there. It says realistically detailed, entertainment inspired reproduction of Boba Fett's iconic helmet. Repeated there in a few different languages. And of course we've got that Mandalorian series color stripe. On the other side, we've got another front view of the helmet with the rangefinder down. We can see the LEDs illuminated, and we've got a bit of a schematic blueprint style sketch here of the helmet from a few different aspects, from the side, from the back, and from the other side, showing that the rangefinder can move. All in all, I think this is pretty fun, but of course the best way to display a helmet like this is going to be out of the box. So let's open it up. I'm going to open this box up from the top flap. Generally, I like to keep my packaging, so I often open things up from the underside, but this box has a few dings and it's just going to be a lot more sensible to open this one up from the top so I can lift out the helmet. It's always so exciting finally opening up a bigger item like this. I'm always a little bit nervous because these are such big items to get out of the box, but it's just like Christmas, isn't it, being a Star Wars collector, getting something as big as a full-size helmet to add to your collection. For us here in New Zealand, these helmets are a little bit on the pricier side, so we don't have as many as I wish I could add to my collection. So this is a very exciting moment. Okay, so we've got some cardboard here at the top holding the helmet in place. Gonna see if I can get in here. This looks very well wrapped up. Wow, okay, just gonna move that out of the way. We can see that we've got this all completely wrapped up in plastic and tissue paper. They have done a very good job making sure that this doesn't get scratched in transit. I'm trying to see how well I can get this out. This is very, very securely packaged in here. I'm quite impressed. So let's see if I can slide this out. Okay. Getting there, getting there. Oh, it's all sellotaped in. Okay, that's definitely not even going to move. That's all sellotaped here to the cardboard. So I couldn't even slide it out if I wanted to. Wow, okay, let's get this all out. Okay, and we can see, now that I've got it all the way out, it is completely sellotaped here to its cardboard support. So that's not going to go anywhere. Accidentally, that's not going to slide out of the box. We've got a lot of packaging here. You can see that we've got these sort of triangles around the corners holding that in place. So I'm just going to get some of this packaging out of the way so we can start unboxing this out of all of this protective packaging. I'm really impressed with how much there is here protecting the paint job. I'm going to snip the tape here. Wow, this is really securely held in. Okay, so is that going to lift out now? Okay, there we go. Let go, let go. There we go. And we can see the rangefinder was securely underneath. We can see just how much packaging there was around this helmet. Wow, very well wrapped up. And the rangefinder is sort of tied in with cord. So we're going to cut through that as well so we can get that out, because of course it wouldn't be Boba Fett's helmet without his rangefinder. There we go. So we can see we've got that part all secure. We've got some really fun weathering there as well. And we've got some of the instruction booklets here. Of course, because this is an electronic toy, we've got all sorts of safety information. Don't really need that, but this is going to be the important part. This is going to be showing how we get the batteries in and how we attach the rangefinder, adjust the inside of the helmet in case you want to wear it, and of course the electronic features. Very helpful. Okay, so let's get some of this packaging off so we can get our first proper look. Just going to put all that over there. So much packaging. Okay, wow, this is all like covered in plastic. I wonder if I can just rip this. Yep, we're going to have, there's so much sellotape on this. Okay, let's see. Will I be able to just lift this all off? Wow, okay, there we go. It all came off nice. And we can see the helmet. Okay, that's such an interesting effect, isn't it? There's a subtle sort of weathering. I'm of course very much more familiar with the actual sort of silver weathering that we see in the original trilogy versions. And of course, when he gets his helmet out of the Sarlacc pit, we've got a lot of weathering. But wow, okay, so let's clear all of the boxes out of the way and let's start assembling it and checking out all of those electronic details. According to the instructions, the battery is going to go in the exterior compartment here on the side. So before I put the rangefinder on and get a proper overview of the helmet, I want to insert the battery into that compartment. It's just going to be easier to do it at this step so I don't have to pull the rangefinder off. So it looks like we're going to have to take off the external cover here. Perhaps use a screwdriver to get in there so we can get the battery in. So I'm very keen to see how easily this is going to pop off, because if you've ever checked out some of the other Black Series helmets, like the Mandalorian one in particular, I found accessing some of the features that kind of click onto the side to be extremely tricky. So I'm going to see how easily this is going to pop off. So, okay, I kind of pulled to the more towards the back and that kind of clicked off. We can see that we've got two just kind of slots here that just held on with tension, and now we can properly see the full battery compartment. We're going to need a screwdriver for that one screw. So let's open it up and get a battery in place. Now with a battery in place, let's get this cover back on. I'm hoping this will be as easy to replace as it was to take off. Sometimes these tension slots are a little bit tricky. You got to use a bit of force, which always makes me nervous when working with collectibles of this size and price cost. That's very stiff. Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay, snapped on there. Now, the main component, let's get the rangefinder on. We've got a couple of pins here. Obviously, we've got to get these ones aligned. Those are going to be for the electronic components to connect to the battery compartment. I'm hoping this will just snap on. Oh, very stiff. Okay. The nervous point. I've got to see how well I can push, because I get the feeling those black points are going to be quite the tension. Oh wow, okay, that one snapped on. That really clicked on. So from the front, oh, we can see the rangefinder is working already. We can see those blinking red LEDs. And if I recall from the instruction booklet, we should be able to pull this off and we can see that there. That's kind of fun. And there we go. I think that's all this one is doing. I think it's a little too dark to see anything else, but I can definitely see the lights there, which is very fun. But yes, it's kind of a minimal electronic detail there. Honestly, it's not really that important. And I get a little bit nervous about leaving batteries inside my collectibles, because you never can tell if they're going to just sort of go bad over time. I don't like leaving batteries inside something like this. So after having a bit of fun testing out all of the details, I'm probably going to remove those batteries so I'm not forgetting about leaving them in these long term. I have had very unfortunate experiences. I did have one Star Wars collectible where the battery that was inserted did leak and kind of eroded the electronics inside, so it no longer works. So I'm very, very anxious about doing that. But for the sake of playing with this new helmet and checking out all of the features, of course, I have to put a battery in and check it out. And that all went together, not too stressful. It's always a little bit worrisome when you have to really press on those plastic pins. I'm always really worried that something will break, because if it doesn't attach properly, very nice and securely, we're not going to get that electronic connection there to make all of the features work. So I'm grateful that all worked out very well. So now we have the helmet fully assembled. Let's take a look at the paint job here. Of course, this is quite a unique Boba Fett helmet. Generally, we only really see it in those episodes from the Mandalorian, because by the time we get to the Book of Boba Fett, it's a little bit more weathered. Very similar, but more weathered. So this is kind of that unique one as we see him on Morak. And I think there's like maybe a couple of other appearances where it has the same weathering. So personally for me, this does look a bit different as it is pictured on the box. The green is a bit more vibrant, and we do still have this kind of dirty, muddy sort of weathering finish rather than the sort of silver battle damage, but it is a slightly more vibrant green than we see it on the box. but we think we'd really have to sort of see it side by side. I know that there is often a little bit of color difference to how we see props in person, say at exhibitions, and how they appear on screen. I know there are specifically some Star Wars costumes that look very different in terms of the coloring when you see them on display under sort of normal lighting versus how we see them on screen. So I would say that Hasbro probably got images of the original prop, so I would expect that they would color match this to the prop, so it might look a little bit more vibrant in person to how we see it on the screen. Some TV shows have sort of a dark color tone, some are very vibrant. It really does play with how things appear on the screen. But this is really fun. Something about Boba Fett's helmet, of course, he really stood out going all the way back to the original trilogy, despite the fact that he doesn't have as much on-screen time as, say, Darth Vader or Stormtroopers. His helmet is kind of considered to be up there alongside those two very iconic Star Wars characters, especially when you think about merchandise. We tend to see Boba Fett helmet stuff, Boba Fett merch, far more than we see some of those other iconic Imperial helmets like Biker Scout or Snowtrooper, other ones from the Galactic Empire. There is just something about the design of this helmet that it's stood the test of time, hasn't it? And it's just absolutely fantastic. If you are a fan of Star Wars replicas, Star Wars props, you are probably going to have one or more Boba Fett helmets, especially since he has very many different versions. I know there are different versions of Stormtroopers and Darth Vader helmets as well, differences between the props used for the different original trilogy films, but now with the live action series of The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, we have a huge number of variety of Boba Fett helmets, which is really quite fun. It'd be really nice for Boba Fett collectors to have them all as sort of like a timeline of Boba Fett's helmet there. And I think that this is really fun. This is such a good mechanism for the side here. If I can get that one to sort of click down. Actually, that's a little bit stiff there. There we go. I kind of wanted to press at the top, but it's actually at the bottom where that one presses in, just at the bottom there, and that slides down really nicely. And then we've got those fun little lights here that we can see blinking backwards and forwards, just a fun little detail there. And of course, we've got that sort of see-through section, so if you put the helmet on, you'd be able to see through that, especially if you take that little black strip off there. I really like the silver weathering along the edge of the red T-visor there. Oh, that's not quite snapped in. There we go. I almost undid that bit there. And of course, we've got those fine little details, like the little stud here. You can really see the weathering because we can sort of see the texture. It's like it's been repainted, you know, that he didn't have time to kind of sit there and reforge his helmet. It is essentially repainted over the weathering. We can see the texture there on that red visor showing through. And we can see the weathering down here, all of the silver. And the weathering on that side piece gives it sort of a real sort of grimy in-world look. Some very nice painted details here on the side. And if we turn it around, we can see that we have a very subtle tone of green that's different here on the back. The top of the dome and the cheeks are kind of a more of a, I want to say slightly more sort of military sort of army green. Here is a little bit more of a vibrant green. It's a different tone there, which is as it is shown on the box. And we can see the weathering continue here, particularly around those red painted accent pieces as well, which of course does feel a little bit more real than just sort of random splotches. Of course, weathering is going to sort of accumulate around the detail points. This is actually quite heavy as I'm moving it around, and we can see the painted details there. You can see the light showing through the grill in the back here. That is cut out, so we've got a little bit of an vented airflow there if you're going to wear it. If you've worn Star Wars costumes for any amount of time, you know that these can get a little bit stuffy. Fans and other sort of extra additional details do help circulate air, so it's nice that we've got a little bit of venting here in the back. That feels like a very accurate place to put that in there, and we can see more of that silver weathering across that raised red stripe there. And we've got the orange stripes here along the side, all very subtly weathered. They're not pristine. The edges are all just a little bit worn. And then we've got that black one there right at the back. Moving around, we can see the weathering here on the other sort of earpiece here. Very nice. Of course, this one doesn't come off. This one's permanently attached. A lot of weathering here at the top. Some fine painted detail. Overall, this is just fantastic. Oh, the Black Series helmet line has really improved over those first couple. That original Kylo Ren helmet that kind of came in two pieces. Then we had ones like the Poe Dameron that kind of felt a little bit more like expensive toys. These ones they really do sort of fill that gap in the market. If you can't quite afford the very, very luxury replicas from companies like De Novo and EFX, these are a fantastic price point for collectors that just want a representation of one of their favorite Star Wars character helmets in their collection. This is fantastic, especially for us here in New Zealand. If we want to add one of those big luxury pieces, it is very expensive. The shipping, the tax on the price point ends up being very cost prohibitive for a lot of collectors. So I just absolutely love the amount of detail, the heft of this thing. And speaking about the detail, let's take a look at the inside. So they make these things fully wearable, and it is a lot of black on the inside. So hopefully I can show you the detail. We can see the visor. You can see quite clearly through the visor. And we've got a sort of a helmet liner here. So you can adjust it to fit your head. And we've got all these kind of fun in-world details here. We've got this kind of padded sections here. These are sort of squishy foam, kind of plastic there. It's going to be comfortable. And then we've got all these sort of black sculpted details like this is an electronic helmet, you know, voice modulation or anything like that, kind of, you know, breathing. I think that's really fun. It's not just hollow, you know, for a long time, Star Wars costumers would have fan-made replicas that are just completely blank on the inside, which is fine. No one's really going to see the inside of your helmet if you're wearing it with a full costume. But for fans that kind of want a replica to put on display, it's fun just having all of this added detail there on the inside. Just really fun that Hasbro goes to that sort of extra step, including all those details. And you can see the visor. There is a little bit of plastic here at the bottom, just making sure that there's a bit of strength so this isn't a particular stress point. We've just got a little bit of reinforcement there at the bottom, because of course this is going to be across the bottom. And of course, perhaps it would be fun if these came with a stand of some sort, so you can sort of mount it standing like that. I know that some of the more expensive replicas do come with like a display base with a stand to kind of mount it up. I know the common sort of cheaper hack is to use the sort of metal paper towel holders with like a tennis ball or something on the top is a very cheap and affordable way to create a helmet stand for your Star Wars helmets that doesn't add too much cost if you prefer to display yours, because you can see on this particular helmet where it is sitting, it is resting on the front of that plastic. And so there's just going to be a little bit of a potential for damage there if you're going to move this around a lot, because it is resting on that edge. So if you want to be able to put that up on a stand, it's just going to rest it up and perhaps get the angle a little bit more tilted, because if I rest it down, it's kind of tipping back. Might be a bit more fun to display it like that. So I personally will probably be sourcing a small helmet stand just to be able to put this one up. And also just it's kind of fun to have your helmets all at the same height, you know, because we have such a varying array of sizes and different proportions, you know, Stormtrooper helmets, X-Wing pilot helmets and things like that. I am absolutely loving the Black Series line. This one is really fun. Because it is weathered, I'm not too minding of the small little paint flaws. Overall, it's pretty good. I don't see anything very major because of course it is weathered. You can kind of get away with a few paint scrapes here and there. The one that does catch my eye, and I see if I can show this one on camera, there is a very small little scratch here in amongst the weathering on the front that I believe is not supposed to be there. Just a little scratch, but of course if I'm going to put that back, I barely see it, and it is in a fairly weathered sort of speckled area. It's not really drawing my eye, especially when I put this all the way back. I think it just absolutely looks fantastic. There's something so iconic about this green helmet with the red visor, the yellow stripes, and that rangefinder. It's just absolutely fantastic, and it's just really fun that we have this. Of course, the very, very popular original trilogy version is also available in the Black Series line. I'd like to see maybe a Book of Boba Fett version to really add in all of those different versions. Of course, we have the prototype version if you're being really completionist. It's really, really fun. I hope we see more helmets from the Black Series line. I want the armorer. I want more coming out there. I want to add them all in because there are so many helmets from the TV show. Of course, from the Mandalorian, we have a huge variety of Mandalorians, and I think they'll look all cool, all lined up here. This is just fantastic. Oh, the iconic colors. And of course, they've made it very wearable for fans who want to put it on and use it as part of their costume. Oh, it's just fantastic. I've had this one in its box for a little while. I wanted to make sure that I had space for it to display before I got it out of the box. And here it is, all very exciting. I think this looks absolutely fantastic. So you saw that I had the box for the Empire Strikes Back version of the helmet. Of course, I do own that helmet. Let's go grab that one and just see them side by side. So now we have two of the Black Series Boba Fett helmets side by side. This one is the one that was released for the 40th anniversary of the Empire Strikes Back, matching up the coloring and weathering as we see in the Empire Strikes Back. This is the reforged Boba Fett, as we see in chapter 15 of the Mandalorian series, The Believer. And when you take a closer look, you can see there is some subtle sort of sculpting details, some texture that is part of the sculpting for this one. So this one is the same plastic mold. It is just a different paint job, which does make sense. Of course, he hasn't really had time to buff out all of the dents. We still have that iconic dent over here, but it does make a little less sense for one of the other versions, in particular the prototype Boba Fett helmet, which is mostly white. It still has that sort of battle damaged texture to it, which makes a little less sense for that one. But here, I think it's really fun. We can sort of see the progression, the weathering that happened in the original trilogy would be present in this version because, of course, this is set after the original trilogy. So major deformities to the underlying Beskar, the metal underneath is still going to be present all those years later. So it makes sense, even if it is probably a little bit more down to Hasbro just reusing the same molds. But overall, I think it's really fun to see the coloring and the differences when you put them side by side. We can see generally the same sort of colors. We have the dark cheeks here, slightly paler here. We've got the dark red around the visor. We've even got the little arrows here. Some really fun details. The painting details here echo the same sort of little emblems, but of course we see a big shift in the green colors. I know Boba Fett costumers have spent a lot of years really finessing the color matching of all of the colors of the Boba Fett helmets used in the original trilogy and the special edition, and now we have a whole new task here with the new live action series from Disney Plus. We've got some very different greens, very different reds, but it still reads as a very iconic Boba Fett helmet. I think if you put either of these on, a Star Wars fan like a child would instantly recognize it as a Boba Fett helmet. I think it's really fun to see these lined up. Of course, the underlying structure is very similar. We've got the same sort of details, the same rangefinder accessories. I think it's really fun. Some of the other helmets have voice changer, electronic accessory sort of components to it. I'm less of a fan of the voice changer. That feels a little bit more like a children's toy. I like the LED lights in the rangefinder for this particular helmet. It feels a little bit more like a real world accuracy rather than trying to fuss with, you know, putting it on and changing your voice. So when I slide those down, we can see the lights, we can see the little insert lit up. I think that looks really fun. Just adds a little bit more bling to your display. And I just think these are absolutely fantastic. I love what Hasbro is doing with the Black Series line. And I know that those more expensive replicas, you are going to get a few more little details that just sort of add it up to that next level. But of course, you are paying those extra dollars for those details. So for the price point, I am really happy with the level of detail and accuracy I am getting, especially if you can find one of these on sale. In even better, great bargain to add to your collection. Overall, I think these look absolutely fantastic. I wish I had the space and the time to build up a life-size Boba Fett mannequin with all of the costume details, because it is just so iconic. But for now, I at least have the iconic helmets to add in with my other Star Wars helmets. And generally, if you're a Star Wars fan, you can probably find a bookshelf space for a helmet like this, especially if you don't have space for a full life-size display. This is such a great price point and size to be able to add it to your collection. It feels like a real-world prop. It's just so fun, especially with all of those internal details as well. Feels like a real item, not just sort of a hollow plastic shell that's been painted on the outside. I really love this one. I absolutely love the appearance of Boba Fett in The Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. Just absolutely love the way that they have brought such a beloved Star Wars character back into the new series. So we get all of this new merchandise to add to our collections. A fun time to be a Boba Fett fan. So there you go. Really fun to see these two side by side. So thank you so much for hanging out with me today as I opened up another Star Wars collectible and had a lot of fun. I hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon or evening wherever you are in the galaxy, and let's hang out again very soon for more Star Wars fun. May the Force be with you. If you're a fan of Star Wars helmets, I've also unboxed the Hasbro Clone Trooper Phase 2 helmet. That video is linked here in case you haven't already seen it, as well as our whole Star Wars prop replica playlist. This is the way.